Well, hello there, sports fans. Welcome back to the channel. Where in the world is Wayne today? Well, in our last episode, we were trying to get out of Peru because of the massive protests that were going on as a result of an attempted coup by the former president of Peru. We were in Puno, Peru, when the protests got really serious and 17 protesters were killed not far from our hotel. So we decided, let's get the heck out of Peru. Originally, we had planned on going to Bolivia, but for a number of reasons, the main one being that the road was blocked by protesters, we decided to bypass Bolivia and go straight to Chile. So we left Puno, and we saw the remains of all of the debris from the protests the previous day. And we had a fairly uneventful ride once we got out of Puno, and we made it finally to Tacna. However, on our way into Tacna, there were a bunch more protests and roadblocks, and it took us a while to find our hotel. But we finally found our hotel and had a kind of a peaceful evening. Everything was fine. But the next morning, as we were getting ready to leave to go to Chile, the hotel manager came out and he said, you can't go. The protesters have blocked the road by the airport. And then he went, look, and he pointed off to the horizon, and there was this huge plume of black smoke. So we put our heads together, looked at our maps, and we found another way around those protesters. We ended up running into this last group of protesters who were really nice. We were nice to them. They kind of gave us some information on where we should go to get to the border, and we finally made it to the Chilean border. So the first major town we went to when we crossed the border was Arica, and we needed to get some fuel and exchange some money. And then, of course, take pictures with the pretty girls. This became a fairly common theme in Latin America. They don't see these big bikes very often down there, and they come up and they start talking to us and they want to have their pictures taken. So from there, we decided to head east up into the mountains. We had heard that there was these beautiful volcanoes up near the Bolivian border. So we chose a town by the name of Putre to spend the night. Putre sits at about 11,000 feet of elevation in this little valley surrounded by these volcanoes. And the next morning, we asked our hotel manager, or hostel manager, where we can get some gas. And there were no gas stations there. And she said, oh, I know a guy. So she sent us over to his place, and of course he filled our tanks up. Again, this is not the preferred way to get fuel in Latin America, but sometimes you just do what you have to do. So after we fueled up, we headed up to a town called Ajata, which had a spectacular view of Volcan Parancota. But on the way, we saw all kinds of volcanoes. Just take a look at these magnificent mountains. So after the volcanoes, we wanted to head to a national park called Reserva Natural Las Vicuñas. Vicuñas are a smaller relative of the llama, and they live at very high elevations. We knew there was a gravel road that was going to take us there, but as you can see by the X marks the spot, I had a little bit of a problem. Should have known at the very beginning of this road we have these scarecrow kind of beings, and that maybe this is going to be a rough road, but it turned out it was washboard, and for those of you who have ridden washboard, the best way to ride it is fast. So I'm in the lead and I'm riding at about 75 kilometers an hour when all of a sudden it turned into deep gravel. I'm going to say 12 to 18 inches deep. My front tire dug in, and I just was doing everything I could to control it. The back end was swaying back and forth 3 feet in each direction, and then I just went down in this huge cloud of dust. When I got up, my right foot was hurting me, but we checked out the bike. The bike looked pretty good. The crash bars did their job. The bark busters did their job. It ripped off the crash bar bag off the side, and it ripped the GoPro off the front of my helmet. But otherwise, the bike came through. Oh, and I had bent the handlebars just a little bit. So overall, though, the bike came through quite remarkably. And as you can see here, my helmet did its job too, because my face slid along this gravel and the helmet did the job. So Dave said to me, how's your foot? Can you walk on it? And I said, well, yeah, I can walk on it, but it hurts. And he said, well, if you can walk on it, then it's probably not broken. But we decided to forget the rest of the trip on that gravel road, go back to the pavement and take an alternate route. Over the next 3 days, my foot started getting blacker and blacker and bigger and bigger. And by the third day, I said to him, you know what, Dave, this is hurting me really bad. When we get to where we're going tonight, which was Antofagasta, Chile, I said, I'm going to go to an emergency room and get it checked out. Well, I did. I got it checked out, and it was indeed broken. So they put me into a walking boot, and he said I needed to be in that walking boot for 20 days. We decided to ride from there down to Santiago, Chile, get a decent hotel room, and recover. So breaking my leg was actually a blessing in disguise. It allowed me to kind of stop, take some time, recover, and then spend some time in a truly beautiful city of Santiago. We checked into our hotel, and the very next day they set up a boxing ring in the courtyard, and there was an amateur boxing contest going on. We then hopped on the subway system and went all over Santiago. We did shopping, we saw street performers, we saw lots and lots of street art, which is absolutely gorgeous. We got our bikes washed. They hadn't been washed in a long time. And then we got to catch up with old friends. So Steve, who actually had ridden with us through Colombia when we got held at gunpoint, he had taken off ahead of us and got to Ushuaia a month before we were going to get there. And he was on his way back home. He came back into Santiago, and we were able to have some drinks with him and a couple of meals while he was there. So anyway, that was it. On my next episode, we're going to be talking about how we leave Santiago and we start heading in to Patagonia. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next ride. Ciao!